All right, so welcome in today. We're going to be breaking down Bitcoin. We'll take a look, of course, at altcoins and give you guys kind of a little bit of an understanding of what's happening with the debt ceiling and some other stuff. I think you guys are going to like it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Joining me, of course, is Aldo. Jumping in on altcoins today. It's going to be fun.
Great to be on. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to get a chance to look at all this. Before we get started, I want to thank, of course, our own sponsor, which is the Diamond Circle. And if you're not part of our Crypto Power Index, make sure and jump in right now. This actually is going out live now, a day early. It starts, we're doing a full summer sale and giveaway for you guys. So lots of cool stuff. Check it out. It's a 25 off. If you're already a CPI member or a Mastermind member, you're already in the giveaway bin. So don't worry about that. If you're in it, you're good. And there's a lot going to be giving away. We're going to be doing Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. We've got a wine hour that we're going to be doing, all kinds of cool stuff. You can kind of go over to the page and you'll see all the stuff we're giving away. Along with the Solana phone, some Crypto Chick NFTs. It's going to be a fun summer. You guys don't want to miss that. Let's get into it today and start with what's happening with, of course, the overall situation around the debt ceiling. Jumping the Kobe letter, total credit card debt, U.S. officially crossed $1 trillion. First time in history. That's a big number. Comes as average interest rates on credit card now, also hitting a record high of 25%. Average American family also now holds $10,000 in credit card debt. This is not necessarily good, Evan, for markets, because this is going to be a scenario on liquidity, I think, down the road as we start to see even high net worth individuals that will start to feel the credit crunch, mainly through businesses and
the other
like
thing
that.
is a lot of money has gone into money markets, which is indicative of what you see before recessions.
Yeah. So obviously Americans continuing to fight inflations in a big way. Bitcoin risk a new low now, just as we clipped under 27 today. This is something that we've also noticed in the CPI. So over the last few days and last week, we were getting some early trends on downward sentiment, and that was actually the case. Even though I think a lot of people thought on Monday we would see a little bit of an uptrend with the potential handshake of the debt ceiling being kind of coming to some sort of agreement with McCarthy and Biden. But we were seeing still downward trend. Do you think that when you look at liquidity in the market, we had Lynn Alden on just the other day.
Nice.
Check her video out because she talks a lot about liquidity and the challenge that may represent for the market. If you look at overall sentiment, it also kind of leans into that situation right now. When you look at the charts on Bitcoin, what are you guys seeing right now?
So charts are overall still looking on the macro. What I just want to start out and reiterate to you guys on the 2-week, very similar to mid 2019 after we had that rally. Then you got your VWAP coming down, or let's see here, VWAP coming down on the 2-week, giving you the red dot and the momentum wave that brought us down back into this path in the later half of 2019. It's looking similar to one of those trajectories. My guess is the most likely path is some type of double bottom into maybe the end of the year if we do have a more bearish summer. And then going on to the more lower time frames, more of the micro analysis, you should say, on the daily here, what I circled is these trigger waves on the daily. VWAP's coming down, trigger waves, and these don't mess around too much. And you could also see we had some gapped RSIs here that brought us up a little bit. Gapped RSIs coming up are a little bit bullish, but now they're starting to curve back down at the same time as a trigger wave is about to come on right here. Now, this trigger wave brought us down 5%. If we do that, we'd come down to around a little bit lower, 26.5 there. This one, though, brought us down 11%. If we were to come down 11% here, we would come right around to our mid 24s, this range. Now, we're also in this larger head and shoulders right here. If you break downward, you got a technical target around 23 at that area. And if you zoom out, there's some traffic right there. Price likes to stick to this point as well. I do think the mid 24s definitely can be in the cards within the next few weeks here. We all know there's going to be a ton of liquidation points at the high 24s, low 25s, that area, because that's just human nature. It's where people set stop losses, and the market's going to find a way most likely to get those out. And if you look at the 2-day here, money flow is coming out, VWAP coming down. That's a pretty strong sign that something is going to bring us down. Now, I don't want to get all Armageddon here, but if we go back to the last time money flow was above the zero line for this long, if you go right here, it was December of 21. Now, I don't think we're going to come down a crazy, let's just see what that was here. I'm not going to do it from all the way down, but you could have a 30-something% correction. Now, 30-something% correction. From there, where would that bring us to? you're getting into the 18s, high teens again for probably a very, very good buying opportunity into the next few months here.
Interesting. When you look at sentiment, one of the things that we've been tracking on Bitcoin, if you look at the last 30 days, it's had a little bit of a rise, but overall the downtrend has kind of stayed in place. And this is the situation that we've been talking about over the last week, is from that 62, which happened here on the 24th, down here to literally today, which is almost combining with amplification. This is another thing that starts to concern me a little bit when we start to see amplification and top line sentiment starting to kind of compress, is the fact that either we're going to see a bump or there's something holding it back. And I think what the scenario played out when we were in the mastermind kind of talking about this yesterday is debt ceiling, instability, yet not the deal, not completely done, but I think the fact that they've come to some sort of agreement is at least giving them a little breathing room. But if you look at some other scenarios that are playing into this, you had Binance right now starting to put the kibosh on the Australian dollar in terms of exiting. So a lot of people in Australia, remember Australia, top 5 crypto country, can't get or will not be able, as of today, be able to get Australian dollars out of Binance. So they're having to convert. If you have Australian dollars in Binance after, I think today on the 1st, it converts to Tether. So then you've got to look at some sort of off ramp. So that may have been a little bit of the push down to under the 27.
A little bit. Australia is such a small population, though. In my opinion, it's not that significant, but maybe a little bit.
Top 5 trading country, though.
True. Yeah. I mean, a little bit.
Think about volatility, in terms of Bitcoin as a whole.
Yeah.
The other thing that plays into this is U.S. consumer confidence now hitting a 6-month low. This gets back into, in general, sentiment that we've tracked for quite some time. It does show a downtrend. This leads into the concern that I think a lot of analysts have been having, and that is how harsh and how much of a deep cut is the recession going to be. And furthermore, does it actually begin in Q3 like a lot of people are kind of timing and possibly roll out into maybe first part of next year? If you look at the charts and let's kind of jump to Ethereum, because I want to look at the long term on Ethereum as we play this out toward the end of the year. What would your play be on Ethereum for the next 6 months right now?
For the next 6 months, so what I'm looking at right now on the 2 week right here is the same as Bitcoin. See this level? It's very crazy. I circled right here, the same level that we're at right now in terms of the VWAP coming down, money flow. Obviously looks pretty bearish. I don't think you're going to come down 68%. Like that, but you could make potentially a double bottom or maybe even a lower low with regulatory FUD. My kind of worst case scenario right now is around 600. Again, I wouldn't wait that low to start buying Ethereum, but what I'm looking for to get into Ethereum for the next, kind of 6 months for my trajectory, and this may be pretty soon to start DCAing in, is if we look here on the 12-day, and I just want to circle right here. This was the beautiful place for Ethereum last time where we could have got in this whole area. Your average buy-in would have been around $185. Let's move this. Let's take this circle. Let's move it over to, let's say we come into the red in a month or two here, sometime in June, July. DCA in from June, July, all the way out until March, April of next year. Need some discipline for this. I know a lot of people like to just put everything in all at once. Don't do that. But DCA in, especially if we come down, make a, back at 1,300, 1,200, maybe even a lower low, that's going to be a beautiful place to get in. Now, the other thing on Ethereum for a little bit more of the shorter term, what I've been looking at here, where I circled as well right here, you could see we're coming down with the VWAP here, and we may get a trigger wave on the 2-day. You see this one, let's zoom out, see what these two happen. This was a 27% drop down. This was only a 13% drop down, but keep in mind, 13% is still kind of significant. Let's see where those would lead us to. Now, if it's 13%, that's still significant. You're back down around 15 or 16 something. If it's the 27%, let's see here, you're right around this spiral line at 1,300. Now, if we come down to 1,300 next few months, get that summer lull, that summer bear market or whatever, that's a good place to start getting in, I think.
I look at it, because there's a couple of things that are playing out with Ethereum, much like Bitcoin, is the market pressures are still very evident, and the fact that we've got so much macro pressure right now coming from debt ceiling, but also instability around the world, especially in terms of liquidity, which I think is going to be another problem that we'll probably face here in the coming months. The other question is whether or not we're going to see many people continue to push money into Ethereum, basically because of its staking protocol. If you look at just what's happening since the unlock, total deposited right now 19.4 million Ethereum. That's up 5% right now, so not bad. 35 billion. And you've got a little bit, about 93 million on withdrawal on hold right now, but not bad in terms of its continuance, and it's still paying a very high percentage rate, which I think is still keeping a lot of people in Ethereum. I'd love to know from you guys. Make sure and smash the like button and drop some comments down below if you want to ask some questions, pop them over on the sidebar, because I'd like to know how you guys are playing this. Is this something where you would play Ethereum on a much longer period? That's kind of how I do it, but I'd love to know how you guys are looking to go about it. Or are you going to say, no, I'm going to exit, take my winnings that I've had since my low entry, and then wait for another opportunity and basically play those swing trades going down? So I'd love to see what you guys are saying. Another one, this is right here, something that, and I don't know if you guys know who Roger Ver is, but he's been around the crypto community for a long time. I'll just say Google him. He's somewhat controversial, but he always does kind of bring some very unique insights to it. And of course, his big play here is that ETH would be the attraction for new users. And I would have to agree with that in the sense that ETH is most likely going to play into the gaming sector, which I think is still going to be the big play for next run. You're also going to most likely see it in the AI VR tokens. You're going to see it in the onboarding of a variety of NFT projects that will start to roll out. Do you feel like ETH is still the gateway to crypto right now? I
think ETH is your best bet. Yeah, I think ETH is going to be your best bet. I mean, buying it right now at 1,800 and hoping for a 10x in the next bull run, that's tough. Like, that's probably not, we're probably not going to get that high, but hoping to get in around 1,000, maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher, and hoping for a 10x, that's a reasonable goal. And I think ETH is kind of the last shot of, I mean, Bitcoin, you're probably not going to get 10x in the next bull run, but ETH is a real good shot of that in the next bull run. I think that's the main blue chip if you're just a little bit of a degenerate, if you want to take a little bit more risk and potentially get a 10x.
That's kind of been our position, is trying to, and if you guys are in our mastermind, you know what our mix on our token list is right now. ETH kind of holds that number 2 position. It overtook Matic earlier this year, and we exited out of Matic, not in a bad way, but we look at Matic just differently now than we did then in the beginning of the year. Speaking of Matic, let's talk about this. Deutsche Telekom announces support for the Polygon blockchain. What does this mean is still yet to be determined. There'll be a lot of things I think that will eventually roll out. Mobile is going to play a huge, huge role in this next era of adoption. Because right now we've had the crypto bros, the early adopter tech. I think we're going to see an influential tech crowd come in on this next adoption phase. Maybe not mainstream normies yet. Some will dabble. But I think we're getting ready to leap forward in the tech fluent that understand how blockchain works, but more importantly, how technology is starting to play into it. So you got Matic, of course, playing into this. With Matic on the charts, what's your position on this one? Do you like this?
I mean, right now, not too good, but let's take a look here. So the main thing I'm looking at here, I mean, obviously Matic, we know this has done phenomenally well since June of 2022, and usually nothing could last forever, up 400% since then. Now you're already down, what are you down, like 45? Yeah, almost 45%. If you look at this area on your 2-day, this is kind of textbook market cipher basic strategy. VWAP coming down, money flow coming out, especially when the money flow has been above the zero line for a while. The last time we kind of saw something like this was back here in March of 2022. You also saw something like this kind of over here in August 21. So, there's a high likelihood that you would come down a bit. Now, if we did something like this, I don't think you're going to come down to, crazy Armageddon 80%, but you could easily come down, another 30% or something here. This is a big fib level right here. If we were to come down to around 66 cents, I think that's probably a good place to start DCAing into where I would personally look. To go lower than that, I think that's a good price. Anything lower than that is on sale. Like a good price for the next bull run. I think you'll look really good in the next bull run if you're buying anything below like 66, in my opinion. Kind of worst case scenario, we should always talk about, Armageddon scenarios because it is crypto, things are known to go down. You could make a double bottom at 90%. Things do go down, though that far.
Where would that put it?
That would put it at 30 cents
Okay.
to the summer of June 2022 low.
Yeah.
That would be a nice double bottom if you were to go in that low. And 90%, I mean, for a crypto, Cardano went down 98% in the last bear market and came all the way back. So,
I think the key here with Matic has been its fall off from sentiment and also the amount of news that has been lackluster in the space. Because Matic was a PR engine for many months, exposing a lot of things that they were doing right, and rightly so they should be. But then it kind of disappeared, and we saw a lot more movement from Solana really starting to accelerate. And I think this is all timing on how it plays out into this next bull run. If you look at sentiment, this is the thing that is still putting Matic in a no zone for me, and that is, remember, your top line sentiment is the white bar line there. That's overall sentiment. Right now, Matic is performing under the market. So that, back to your point, is if we continue to see, and it's also on a downtrend over the last 30 days, I think there's still more room for this one to fall, unfortunately.
Absolutely,
and for the telecom news to not get a bump, maybe a little bit of a sliver here, I think just shows kind of the position and the sentiment on Polygon right now. It's a concern.
A couple more months. Give it a few months and take a look.
All right, so a couple other things. Deutsche Telekom, this is the Matic staking, so you're going to be able to do some staking over there. A lot of news is going to start rolling out, I think, on this partnership for Matic. This could be an interesting aspect, too, because this could be one of those things that brings Matic Biz Dev team back into the fold on where this plays forward, and maybe getting them back into the run in terms of the next opportunity, because that's going to be a question mark. Many people will look at Solana, they'll look at the blue chips, ETH, Solana, Matic, Avalanche. Are those going to get it? And which one of those is going to do well on the next run overall?
Yeah.
Which one would you pick?
The one with the lowest market cap, which I believe is Avalanche. They're always the most room. Avalanche, that's probably got the most room. Avalanche is the least talked about, too. It's the lazy. Not as many people are talking about Avalanche. Solana, Matic, those people, haven't shut up about it no matter what. But Avalanche, buy the one that people aren't talking about too much.
Yeah, don't forget there's still a lot of games that are being developed on Matic. Here's IntelliX right here, of course, with their new golf. This is also going to be available on iOS, so that, and Android, of course. But the point of getting Web3 games into the iOS ecosystem with what's happening with Apple, I think we're in for a very interesting run of Web3 conversion. How it plays out into NFTs and collectibles, I think, is still yet to be determined, but could be a good sign for some of that. Speaking of Avalanche, Avalanche automated the blockchain builder that through Alva Cloud. If you have not checked our video out with the Alva Cloud team, basically what Alva Cloud does is it enables almost anyone to go out and create their own blockchain at a push of a button. So for those who are in Web 2 that are trying to basically step into Web 3, Avalanche has a solution. It's one thing that we've talked about with Avalanche very often is whoever wins the Web 2 to Web 3 conversion, watch out for that one, because that's going to see a lot of adoption. New companies going into it. But Alva Cloud, definitely a big move right now. So check out that video. Avalanche as an investment. This is one I hold. What's your position on this one?
So right now, I don't hold any of it. I'm waiting to get in. The main place I'm looking at right now is if we look at the 2-day right here, it's kind of that bad scenario that we're seeing on a lot of these. Money flow above the zero line for a while, coming into the red, VWAP also coming down, RSI is curving back down as well. The last time we saw over here, money flow come from red to green, he came up a little bit, then he dumped another 46%. That's what I'm kind of looking for a lot of these altcoins, another 40, 50% potentially to come down into the next few months and a year. So if you repeat that trajectory, you come down here, that's a good buy. I think these lows around $10 could be a good place to start DCAing in. We got to talk about Armageddon numbers, but believe me, it's going to be a good buy if this happens. Things are known to come down, 95, 96, 97% like Cardano in the last market cycle. $3 worst case scenario. That's kind of a black swan happens, bad recession, depression, whatever, but that's where potentially life-changing, really big amounts of money can be made if you come up. Look right here, 30 something X right there if you come up to a new all-time high from those low areas. But yeah, for the short term, next few months, I'm pretty bearish. After that, I think it's going to be a really good DCA.
Okay, so there's two things that happen here. I'm kind of in the more neutral. I don't know that Avalanche gets too much off that $14 to maybe $12 range.
Right.
Reason being is what I think they're brewing in their Web 2 to Web 3 conversion, especially with Ava Cloud. All right, so likely is that we're probably going to see some action from Avalanche maybe in the coming months, because I'm just looking at strategically, if I was sitting in that executive boardroom and trying to figure out how to roll out a campaign and partnerships, this next 6 months is going to be really critical for some of these blue chips, especially with someone like Avalanche, Avalabs. If you look at their users, monthly active users right now, all-time high. Look at that. I mean, this is another reason that I'm watching this one very closely. Now, it's not something I'd say I'd jump into now, but go back to your chart. I want to bring both, and let's look at that double. All right, so let's take a look at, say, the last 6 months.
The last 6 months, so around back from December, around there. Yeah.
And you'll notice that it's starting to move into, what was that low on the 6 month?
So that was around $10. Yeah,
All right,
$10
so there
was
you go.
low.
That's the area that I think is, if there is a major issue like a recession, we start to see liquidity problems, within the markets.
That's a major. $10 is a huge area.
Yeah.
That's what you potentially
That's the
double bottom
number to
there. That's where I would say is what I would do. What I think I'm 95% here. I'm going to start DCAing around that point.
$10.
But if Bitcoin dominance gets to like mid 50s before that, I'll just start DCAing in that then, which is probably within the next few months. So it doesn't really matter exactly where price goes. I'm just following my strategy here.
All right, so let's jump to Solana, because Solana, of course, obvious big news is kind of and if you guys didn't check out our video on this, go over and look at this. We did a Solana versus Apple video. We did a VR, AR token video that involves Solana. But the point is that Apple, Meta, and I think many others are going to be rolling out into hardware.
Yeah.
The cool factor is they're going to need content. And we're going to probably see Web3 content, most likely even more so, maybe from the Solana ecosystem. Then you're going to have the opportunity, I think, within Solana itself to start to expand in its own mobile platform with the Saga. So there are some things right now, Solana could be poised. Sure, we might see a little bit of a dip, but I think we might get a nice little bottom here and then a skyrocket. What do you look at on the chart?
In terms of the bottom right now, that's a good point that you bring up. So if we just look at the chart, this is kind of like, this and Chainlink just have not done anything really since January. Look at this, many months of just nothingness at the same price, essentially. We're in this big channel right here. And now there's two main cases, which probably within the next 6 months, you'll see either a break up to around $40, this area, or more of a breakdown. However, before you break up or break down, what you can do here is look where I circled right here. You got some gapped RSIs in the 16-hour, and that brought us down. Pretty bearish sign. This was a 19% drop down. If we come down 19%, you're potentially toying with a 17, this area is a double bottom. 16, 17 could be a decent double bottom. That could be a good place in the next few months, June, July, to start DCAing into this. Hopefully that's the bottom right there. Obviously, if you break through this, you could come down lower, back to $10, something like that. We don't know. There's a lot of different scenarios with this. There's, a lot of people with different opinions. Some people think this is never coming back to an all-time high. Some people are really bullish on this. So, I would start DCAing into this in a few months. Just with the Bitcoin dominance, the same thing right here. It does look most likely in the next few months, you'll see at least kind of an 18% drop down, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you are looking at the past week, guys, you can kind of go right here all the way back to the 25th. That's the little bit of movement that we did see in the sentiment clip that we started to register right here. Again, this is not by far a high performing sentiment. So don't take that as a good thing. It's still underperforming overall market. It's not like Ethereum and Bitcoin who have been above market. But it is one that's starting to move back into that zone of a potential target. So I'm watching this one very closely. We are looking for entry points on Solana. So question mark is where and when. What would be your entry point right now?
The entry point right now, I would hope it would be at least 17 would be the highest. I would look to start getting into it. Ideally around 16, this point, right around here. And then I think anything theoretically under 15, if you're planning on holding this until, the next bull run, until we really come up higher, is anything below 15, I think is relatively good. But that goes all the way down to $5 or $3. So
I don't think
be prepared, diamond hands.
I don't think we go there.
Crazy recession, depression, black swan, U.S. defaults on debt.
Let me explain why. Okay, so because there's a narrative playing out right now in the market. I don't know that everyone is on board with this narrative, but it is one that I'm on board with. I mean, our show is Tech Bat, so we kind of have to be in a way. But you have Raoul Pal jumping in on this, and I think his thesis is in line with some things that we've talked about here on the show recently. June 5th, probably a big date for the exponential age. I agree with him 100%. What we're about to see on June 5th could be that fateful day in 2007 when Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and presented the iPhone. Now, I know everybody's saying, Paul, no way, this never will happen. But Apple has to get to the next level of hardware devices. They've done it with the phone. You saw the numbers here this week. They've pretty much flatlined around 200 million units. That's great, but eventually the market is going to be attrition. And this, I think, is an opportunity, and it does two things. It has a new opportunity for crypto and what blockchain might play into this.
Right.
Gaming will be a part of it. Productivity will be a part of this. I think it leaps us forward into the next generation. Content will probably play into this in the future as well, especially on XR, which is what Apple's trying to do. But he says it right here. Then at first you'll see a pushback, just exactly the same playbook as we did in 2007 by BlackBerry users. Then you'll most likely use it. And then Apple is probably going to see all-time highs fast. June 5th will show us the future of where the metaverse is going.
The thing with that is if it's like 07, 08, oh man, Apple stock's going down 50%. So you may...
I think, though, it's a little different play now because of the fact that technology in that era, nobody knew what was possible. Everybody was trapped inside the old machine learning aspect of the web. Okay. Everybody was trapped in the ECR phase of what we know as cash registers. It was a different era. Okay. Once the Apple phone, the iPhone really launched, and plus, remember timing, you had social media and Apple launching essentially almost in the same year. Mm-hmm. That changed the future, I think, of the technology trajectory. And I agree with Raoul Pal. I think we're about to see a next, maybe renaissance for where technology is going. So, with that being the case, what tokens are you thinking? If you're following us, you guys already know what we're talking about, and that is we're going to be going into a lot of things that align with the Apple and the Meta narrative. You look at MetaQuest, their gaming showcase coming. You're going to see a heavy 1-2 play here. This is really good for, I think, the markets, tech markets, eventually for crypto markets, crypto gaming, because in 2007, it was BlackBerry and Apple. And Apple basically undressed them. Okay?
Right.
Meta and Apple could be head-to-head here, meaning very good for retail consumers and for the growth of tech, because both will be trying to outdo each other, so we win on the other side. So, I don't know. I think we're in for an interesting time. Follow the tokens that are playing into that. If you guys are not aware, we have a new, you guys probably know we run the CPI list right here. I may start sharing this list with you guys, but this is all of the CPI tokens that we currently track. We also have just popped in our new VR index, so we've got Red Fox in there, Network, Render. Let's take a look at Render real quick.
Yeah, let's go Render.
Render's in here, Affin is in here, Wilder, which is one that I've just entered. Block is in here. Over, I'm also have done an entry on Over. Vulcan Forge, Seek, which of course we've talked about on the show here before. Atlas, Star Atlas, we're going to maybe have those guys on the show. You've got Somnium in here, VR, Reels in here, Sensorium, and then we're tracking Apple, Nvidia, and Meta, obviously just from the stock position right now. What is Render looking like right now?
So Render looks like, I know I've been saying it for a while, but it does look like you're going to get your pullback pretty soon. If we draw this, we got a pretty significant bearish div. Money flow starting to come out on the 3-day here. This is coming up, and you're also hitting some major historic traffic right here. This is where price stuck to back in January of 22, and you just lost that. You couldn't hold it. So I would think you should see some type of significant pullback. Now, this area is really big at $1.14, which could be a huge area to potentially get in. You see this kind of pocket right here as well. Let's see where that's from. That's from around $1.10 to $1.40, which could be a pretty good place to try to get into this once you do see that pullback. And if we map this out, this could be into July, August, that summer pullback, and then that's a good time to start looking at this. Other than that, it does look, nothing's going to go up forever here. This is let's see what this is. This is a 10x right now, almost a 10x there. And if you do come up a little bit higher, even more kind of traffic at around the 10x area, 320 right there. So I would give it a few months here. I'd give it a few months. Great place to take profits. Great place not to FOMO in. If you also look at this 4-hour right here, the last time we had 4-hour coming from green to red right here. Let's look at this guy right here. So you came down. That could bring us right back to $1.80. I would be hoping to get in a little bit lower here, $1.30, that area, but $1.80 is looking very likely here.
So you like $1.80. I don't think we get there.
You don't think we're into $1.80?
No, I think render right now is too tied to Apple in the short term.
Okay.
In the short term. Reason being, we've seen very erratic but yet very positive sentiment on render. And if you just look at the sentiment, just as the last 30 days, but this is where they started back at the first of last month. This is where they've landed. And they're, again, top line and amplification, the two types of sentiment we track. Top line is general conversation. Amplification is people saying, I'm going to do something.
Right.
All right, I'm going to act. When those things start intersecting, you've timed this around Apple. They may get another little bump here, but I'm still not saying this is an entry point. But for those of you who are maybe in our mastermind or our CPI, you already know because you went into render at the time we went into it, and you made a lot of nice moves, I'm sure. But the point is that it's been performing above market, and it's got Apple in its back pocket with the iPad and Octane X, and you have a June 5th, and whatever comes after that.
Something goes wrong with that June 5th, though.
Be ready to be exiting. But I would be. This is my
$1 before you know it.
No, I don't think so. My point here is that with render, I feel like Apple either has to fall on its face. I mean, literally
look
do
at what
a
happened
face.
to Meta.
Do a face. Yeah, that's
Good.
two different companies, though.
Okay.
But Apple has to do a face plant. I don't think they do it. I think they're going to drop something that will either be unbelievable or people will have a lot of, okay, it's good, but it's going to get better.
Gotcha.
Like the Apple Watch. Okay,
Sure.
It was good, but it was a piece of crap in the first one.
Yeah.
But we knew it was going to get better, and now it's like.
Now it's pretty good. The battery could last a little bit longer, but now it's.
Anyway, we're going to be doing all that. Make sure and check out. Of course, we're going to be doing a debt ceiling video here later today. Make sure and catch that one. I don't know if it's going to be live or not. Are we going to do live on that one, guys? Yeah, looks like. So we got a lot of new material there for you guys. Don't forget, drop some comments down below. We'll get to some questions, and I think we have the poll coming up, right? Yep. All right, let's take a look. Will Apple pump VR tokens? 70% says yes.
I might lean with the no a little bit.
You're going to short this, aren't you?
Sell the news.
You're going to short this whole narrative.
I'm short on ETH right now, but I don't normally short stuff that small market caps, but we'll see.
But you could short Meta, you could short Apple right now.
Sure, yeah, you could short
Nvidia.
those, which I think are probably Nvidia could get up to 500, but I'd still think it's
that's $1 trillion market cap right now. It's
rejecting off of the trillion.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to a few questions. What do we got there?
Let's see. Artificial intelligence too. People are asking about AI a little bit.
Yeah. My take on AI is a little different than I think everybody else. Thanks, Kyle. There's Kyle Wilson, our one of our hosts. Is this way. I believe that AI it's happening, but I don't think it's happening at the scale in which a lot of these companies are thinking it's happening or portraying that it's happening. Like, I'm not worried that AI is going to take over the world. I think it's productivity. It's going to be a lot of the function. I look at just the scenario with Adobe and what they've done with their design. They were already ahead of this. And I think it's just going to be something that we will see a lot of growth in. But this is a lot of blue sky, guys. So if you are investing in AI tokens, just be aware that a lot of this is blue sky. Normal VC investing, they invest in blue sky all the time, because most of the time that's what it is. It's blue sky. Nothing there, but it looks pretty. Yeah. And that's where I am on AI. So
this is a good question right here. AVAX versus eGold. eGold could be one.
That's a good comparison.
eGold still could come back. eGold, it's been under the radar, but I think it's a good bet.
Yeah, thanks there, Joey. All right, what else do we have? IMX.
I don't even know I forget about IMX.
We're not doing anything with IMX. We're watching it, but it's just not something that's been in the game. Thoughts on Everdome? That may make it back into our VR list. That's another one that I don't know if we put Everdome in the VR list. We've got several VR tokens that have not been added yet because we're trying to build that, VR tracker there for you guys. If you do want a list of those, just a comment down below. Maybe we'll share that link out on TradingView for you.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we got? Is VV dead?
Is which one dead?
Is VV dead?
I don't even know what that is.
VV, come on, man. All right, so
VV.
yes, VV is dead, I'm afraid to say. After we saw
That's why I don't know what it is.
Opening of which was it? That we just saw one the other day. Well, the Cryptoys opening was amazing. If you guys didn't catch that on Metaverse Insider, go back and check out our interview with their founder and CEO, Cryptoys. You'll see what I'm talking about in terms of engaging NFTs and engaging digital collectibles. Very, very big deal. And we've exited all of VV. We pulled it out of CPI. Unfortunately, it's just not on our watch list anymore. Sell the news right now. Sell what news? Are we selling the
debt ceiling
the Apple news?
Yeah.
Maybe the Apple news or the debt ceiling news?
Probably debt ceiling. A little bit of both, I would say, or just a sell in May, walk away narrative. Last day of May, I think, is today, right?
Yep. What else do we got there? King Black in 10. Wait a minute.
Let's
What's
see.
that?
Black Swans and Depressions are priced in already. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think so many right now. James and Investmans. We got to bring James back on because he is a huge Solana bull. And I will give him credit. He has held through his thesis on Solana, even when I have doubted Solana, mainly because I just don't like networks to go down. But they have really kind of turned it around for them. Good on them. Good on Tully. I mean, I'm happy for anybody that says, hey, we got a problem. The FTX thing almost took the wind out of them, but they held on.
You'll like this one, Cardano 14x, Paul?
Yeah.
I think so. I think
14x?
I don't know from these prices, but I think it's possible.
I don't know. We'll see. Question on Gala. We're going to have the Gala team on to talk about their new token metrics. So that, I think, there's a lot to be uncovered there before we make an assessment if we're bullish on Gala or not on the next run. I am still bullish on gaming as one of the core narratives for the next run. And I think ETH will be playing into this, Solana will be playing into this, maybe Avalanche as well. But there's going to be a lot of 50x tokens this time around, just like there were in the most recent run.
Yep.
In terms of opportunity.
A lot of 20x's and 30x's
Pay
too. We'll take
attention.
that. Happy with my 20x's.
All right, you guys, make sure smash the like button on your way out. And if you're not a subscriber already, get in. Just click that little bell. You'll get our live streams like this one that we do here with Evan on our altcoin show. And if you're not part of the Diamond Circle, jump in. Also, one last note, if you guys have not checked out Evan's course, we'll leave a link down below. He gives us a discount, so you guys join up with Evan.
Yeah, check it out.
It's going to be a good one. All right. If you want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.